Craig came up to me and spoke to me, and he said, "Look, I don't think that was fair. We're going to try our best to get you out to America for CGI." And then he said, "Look, I'm going to try and get you on the team if you're up for it."
But what team are you on? It is officially summertime, Jiu-Jitsu nerds, which means we are one step closer to CJI2, and we have special ticket announcement that Craig will deliver himself. We have a video of him coming up, despite him being a little bit under the weather. He does mention that I'm too busy to do an interview with him, but that is not true, Craig. You know that I would give up my left pinky toe for unlimited interviews with you, sir. So maybe next show. But on this episode of On Borrowed Time, we speak to Tom DeBlass, your America's Misfits 66 kilogram spot, Deandre Corbe, and Taylor Pearman has a big announcement to make for CJI2. So here's Craig Jones, and whoever got him sick, I'ma beat your ass. He's like, I'm a superstar. I'm a superstar. B-Team's YouTube channel knows me. Yes.
All right, quick update, guys. I can't do another live show with Alex. The time zone changed. She's busy. I'm in Ukraine. Right now I'm in Kharkiv. I'm here to visit my buddy Roman, Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We're gonna train at some of the schools here, train with some of the troops. That's the plan. But I am sick right now, but it's been pretty crazy in Kharkiv. Both nights we've been bombing. If you saw my story, that was straight out the balcony. So pretty bloody heavy. We did go to a raid though, so we did have a good time. The raid ended very early because of the curfew. Today's video is going to be about the American Misfits team. We're going to have Tom DeBlass on there. Tom DeBlass heads up athlete signings for One Championship. Tom DeBlass has been super helpful for us because One Championship and Flow Grappling allow their athletes to participate in CJI. UFC BJJ does not. So Tom's going to jump on the show and explain basically why that's so important for the sport. Props to Tom DeBlass. We've talked some shit to each other in the past, but we're coming together for the greater good. CGI Super Bowl event, we want no athletes from all organizations in there. And lastly, what's next? I'm waiting to see who wins from whoever buys tickets for the next 7 days. And whichever country that guy's from, or girl, I'm gonna fly to that country, I'm gonna visit that person's gym, and we're gonna teach a free seminar there. So basically I'm in Kharkiv till Friday, Kyiv till Monday, cross back into Poland on Monday. Hopefully if the border crossing's not too bad. From there, the next trip will be planned, and we'll be going to whoever wins that. Following that, I'll be returning to the US, probably the West Coast, travel around, train a bit, and probably do some preparation for Gable Stevenson. I feel like I should start training for that big bastard. Sorry, this is short, guys, but I'm sick and very tired out here in Ukraine.
Make sure you guys check out our new YouTube channel. We just started a second channel. This channel includes things like, high intensity rounds between pros, breakdowns from events, major events that you guys have seen people competing in, techniques from all of our different instructors. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment down below on that channel, letting us know what you guys want to see.
Jiu-Jitsu nerds, we are being joined now by the industry figure that Tom DeBlass is. He's also been taking care of a lot of the matchmaking, actually probably all of the matchmaking we see with One Championship, some amazing matches. So how are you doing, Tom?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Just got done talking to some Daisy Fresh folks. So the way that their team is stacking up is really coming up as one of the dark horses of CJI2. We've also had the announcements of some locked in teams from B Team, New Wave, and the Misfits. So from an outsider perspective, which team are you looking at as one of the favorites for CJI2?
I love Daisy Fresh. Heath and I are, we're pretty close actually as friends. And Dante Leone is probably like the best athlete I've ever worked with as a professional. It's crazy. One thing I realized, like matchmaking for one, because I was an athlete myself, but on the other side of things, so many athletes, like it's crazy. Like you try to set them up for things, you text them, and there's just there's not a lot of responsible people like Dante is, So I'm just a super fan of Daisy Fresh. I don't know though, man. Of course, New Wave is always out there on top. Depends who they put out, though. Like we know Gordon's not going to be competing, so that's tough. So I honestly, I can't tell you who I think will be the favorite. I think it can be anyone's game because all you need is just one day. You show up one day and it's your day and your whole life changes right then.
And I was listening to one of your older podcasts when you were going to be competing at the ADCC trials, and you talk about nerves and how you choose not to feel nerves. What do you think of the nerves for some of these guys that are going to be competing at CJI2 under some of the brightest lights that we see, and also adding in that Royal Rumble aspect?
I think I would say things sometimes because I think that's what I was supposed to say, but as I'm getting older now, I'm 43, I'm not a competitor. I can be completely real. I was always nervous before competing, not because I was scared of another man, but you're nervous of what could happen, right? All eyes are on you. My advice to the athletes is you got to block out the noise, man. Whether you win or lose, the people who are supposed to love you are going to love you the next day.
And you have so much experience watching many different rule sets as well. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how people can strategize for this. And a lot of it is going to end up falling on the lap of the coach. But from your perspective, with this quintet CJI hybrid rule set, do you think there's going to be any clear ways that people could game the system?
I believe strategy is imperative, but at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu, right? Whoever has that in mind, together as a team, they strategize that way, they're going to have the best shot. I got to figure out the rules a little bit more, but all the teams you spoke of, Danaher always has a killer game plan. Heath brought these kids from nothing. Like, these are just some hard-nosed working kids. They came up with nothing, and now here they are on the world stage, and they train tough. They train very old school, but tough isn't enough. You got to have that strategy.
What was your initial reaction when you heard that CJI2 is going to be including a 4-woman bracket, and who do you think should be in it?
I think it's great. I think who should be in it is the people who, of course, deserve it, and the people who other people want to see. You have to bring eyes to the event. Of course, Adele. I know everybody wants to see Danielle in there. It would be great to get Danielle in there because we've seen her compete in one often. I definitely think it's a great idea that he's having it, and I'm pumped to see that.
One Championship and Craig have seemed to be working together to really just put the sport of jiu-jitsu as the main priority in the growth of it. So what was your kind of conversations like with Craig when talking about CJI2 and the possibility of those on the roster for One Championship joining CJI2?
And he approached me super respectful. He's like, hey, I want to see if this date that we're putting out will conflict with any events you have for One. And before he even gave me the date, I said, we could just work around it. We have events every month. The thing is with One, we put on basically one grappling match per event, but they get the most viewership. They get viewed by millions. When I got involved with One, I really pushed for our athletes being to compete in other places as well. I'm not going to have our athletes compete twice a year and then they're just sitting the rest of the time. I want them to be busy because as I fought MMA and I competed in grappling. And when I would compete in grappling, sometimes I would compete back to back to back weeks. And you could do that. You can't do that in MMA. And the more you compete in grappling and jiu-jitsu, the better it is. I was like, yeah, our guys and girls could always compete in CJI. I'll always work around it. I won't schedule anybody to compete the same day CJI is. I just want athletes to compete, man. It's not a selfish thing for me. It's not about me. It's about getting the athletes out there, getting the exposure they deserve, getting them tested, battle tested. And I just want them to compete as much as possible. I told Chachu that, and Chachu has a lot of faith and trust in me. So if I want to do something, as far as change some things around, he basically says, all right, go with it. I trust you when it comes to jiu-jitsu and grappling. I trust your reputation. I would like to see CJI put out some more events actually throughout the year. This way, One and CJI could kind of bounce back and forth off each other. And I think that would be ideal rather than just one a year. Maybe have some smaller events throughout the year, maybe some qualifiers, something like that.
I got to get your take on CJI2 being inside the pit. How do you feel like this is going to affect the strategies or the way that the competitors prepare for this event?
I think it's great, man. And actually my affiliate, Jared, I don't know if you ever saw that suit pit jiu-jitsu where people are competing against. He's the one who started that. And I think the pit is phenomenal because you can't run. You see so much in the IBJJF people, they play strategy, so they play on the outside. In the pit, there's nowhere to run, man. So you got to actually get after it. And there's been some really cool submissions, people jumping off walls and stuff like that. So I think it's going to bring the ultimate excitement, you know. And I think now that it's a team thing as well, people aren't just competing for themselves, right? Like they know they have to do well. Who wants to be that guy or that girl that goes home like, oh man, we lost because of me? You know what I mean? So I mean, I think it's going to really bring a lot of excitement. It's they're forced to be excited because it's in the team. You know, there's no other way around it. I'm excited to see it. It's going to be super super cool.
And are there any standout matches that you're hoping to see?
Hopefully the Rotolos versus anyone. I would like to see Tyre Cade against the big boy, you know, against Rod, something like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't have everybody's good. Everybody's phenomenal. So it's like I don't have the people that I favor are the ones I personally know, like Dante, the Rotolos, you know. I love these kids. You know, we have Fabrizio Andre on roster. He's a stud. We have Cole Abate. Cole is unbelievable. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I don't think he's doing CJ. I don't think AOJ is doing it. We have a big announcement for Cole coming up soon. That should happen within the next few months. But he's going to be competing early in the fall, you know, and it's going to be really great to see because his opponent's a stud as well. So I'm just excited to see everybody get after it, man. It's a life-changing thing.
And Tom, is there anything that you're working on that you want the fans to know about?
All I can say is I'm constantly pushing for grappling. You know, like if I could only do what I could do. I only have so much pull, but in the position that I'm in. But I do believe since I've been on board with one, we've seen some great matchups. We've seen some high level people out there really putting it on the line. And any athlete that you talk to that has dealt with me will say that I'm super easy to deal with. Like I'm just a dude that's just trying to push the sport forward. Nothing special. I've been in the athlete's position, so I understand how stressful it could be. I'm going to keep pushing for it, you know, as long as I'm able to do so. And, you know, I stand pretty firm on my moral ground and what I think is right and what I think is wrong. So if I give somebody my word, it's imperative to me that I stick behind it, you know. So one thing people need to know working with me is they'll always get honesty from me. I'm never going to like pull the wool over their eyes. I'm never going to bull crap them. I'm always going to give them honesty. And sometimes honesty is not what people want to hear, but they're always going to get it.
Well, we cannot wait to see you, hopefully in person, come August 30th and 31st at the Thomas and Mack Arena. Thank you so much, Tom.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jiu-Jitsu nerds, we got a special guest. It is the Filipino sensation Sabatero Invitational 100K winner and your West Coast Trials 2024 ADCC champ, Deandre. So many accolades. Are you going to be carrying in this momentum into CJI2 with $1 million prize on the line?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. The last couple of years, we started making some big noise, so keep that momentum going and trying to take it all the way to CGI.
It was such an amazing way to win the Sabatero Invitationals against an ADCC bronze medalist, Josh Cisneros, getting that knee bar, and the way Greg came up to you and just let you have your moment, but I could see the emotion on his face. So walk me through that moment, getting the victory, the submission victory for a big grand prize.
Thinking about that back to that day, it was huge for us, man. It was big for not only me but my family, and it was big for Standard. 100K. That's like, other than CJI, that's like probably the most money a bracket has ever put up, and to go through all 4 matches and finish that way, it was huge for us.
And I know some of the people that you faced in the past will also be at CJI2. We saw a great match at WNO against Ethan Krelliston that you actually took on short notice. So is that a potential matchup that you're hoping you could run it back? Because you, just as a competitor, I know sometimes when you take an L, you want to get those wins back.
Definitely want to run that one back. Ethan's cool dude. I trained with him not too long ago, but definitely want to try to run that one back on the competition stage. But other, like, not just Ethan, but a lot of those 66 kilo guys in CGI, those are some heavy hitters. And similar to what we were doing in the Zapatero, man, there's a lot of like top 10 guys in there. And, you know, whether I want to run it back or I had some new opposition in front of me, I think it'll be a great competition.
And one of the wins that you had was against Diego Pato. We don't have him currently locked in, but what do you think the likelihood is of him being involved in this tournament?
That's unfortunate, man. I hope he has an opportunity to come back in, because, you know, Pato's he's top dog. I had a good day that day, but he's been really consistent, and he's like I know he's multiple division champions. He's high on the pound for pound list. He's a finisher, which is huge for like a setup like CJI. I mean, with all this the setup with all the different weight classes, the Royal Rumble style, weight's not really playing a factor here, and we just need guys that need to finish. I hope Pato gets an opportunity to represent at least one of the teams. I think it would be huge if he was in there.
Yeah, I definitely want to see all the big names in the 66 kilogram division be shown, because we didn't get to experience it in the inaugural CJI. For the most part, most of you guys either stayed with ADCC. It was just too much of a jump. So now we're going to get to see the Dorian Olivares's. He's going to be representing Team New Wave, but not all the teams have been officially announced. America's Misfits, one of them. But Greg did say that he doesn't feel like he needs to make these guys go for a trials. He thinks that we can just look at the past and see who deserves to get that spot. And the first spot he gave, of course, was to you. But is there any other news for the 77, 88, 99, and over 99 kilogram division that you know about?
I actually not confirmed, but I know Greg is working behind the scenes and getting it right. But yeah, I think I don't. He didn't see the need for a trials. If you look at the last couple years, there have been big events like CGI one, the trials, and then ADCC. Like we have a lot to pick from as in for Team Americas, and no, absolutely. Yeah, we did. The 66 kilo division last year kind of remained unchanged for the most part, and that was a pretty stacked division. We had a lot of familiar faces that are now in CGI too. So it's going to be interesting to see what those lighter weights can do. But as for the lineup, I know I'm confident Greg has a good lineup, and have no news yet, but I'm pretty sure Greg is formulating a pretty solid team.
Yeah, we got to get good representation for that America's teams. I was throwing out names. I'm like, could we see a Jet Thompson? Could we see an Elijah Dorsey? Are they going to try to keep people on the East Coast so that you guys can do a lot of training together? I know Greg put out the invite to anyone who's going to be on the team to come and train with everyone. I feel like we're getting down to crunch time where those announcements are going to have to be made. So when they are made, do you guys envision yourself practicing as a team and kind of getting that camaraderie sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're trying to at least get the guys out here, whoever's going to represent us, to train in the same room. Just create some team cohesion. There's a lot of money on the line, and we want every advantage we could get. Get used to hearing Greg's voice, get used to training with each other, and then get used to, like I said, building that team cohesion so we could go get this $1 million.
And where does your brother fall into all of this? I know that's your main go-to training partner, the guy that you can count on no matter what. So what is his take on CJI2?
To me and my brother, this is still crazy to us. Like we cannot believe, we're working full time, right? We're not full time athletes, so this is to us. This is a bonus. Jiu-jitsu has always been a luxury for us, and to get paid to compete and then get paid a lot to win. And, it seems still kind of wild to us. And me and my brother, we're with all our recent winnings and our future opportunities, we're trying to grow that. We're trying to eventually transition all the way so we could continue to make money doing what we love. But for the time being, we're still working.
So how do two Filipino brothers get involved in jiu-jitsu? Because with the Filipino background, people like to get into boxing or just other random sports or singing. A lot of singing and a lot of lumpia. So how did you guys get involved?
There was a gym. We're from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Huge Filipino community there. But there was a gym not too far from us. We started doing striking, Muay Thai, and we competed doing that. And there was this jujitsu thing. They had a program at the same place, and as soon as we got on the mat, first day of jujitsu, we fell in love with it, and then we continued to train from there on. But yeah, it's not very common. It was imagine Filipino household. That's why we got our engineering degrees, because to make a living in jiu-jitsu back when we started training about 15 years ago, that was unheard of. But now we're on like the kind of rise where events like CGI are giving us opportunities to kind of make a good living just doing jiu-jitsu.
That is amazing. And is your brother also mechanical engineering?
Yeah, so we both graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. We're both engineers.
Wow, your parents must be so proud. I'm from Fairfax, Virginia, visited Virginia Beach once, but now are you living in Maryland so that you can be close to Standard?
Yeah, so I'm from Virginia Beach, but I moved to Maryland 5 years ago, and I've been training at Standard ever since.
Well, that's an awesome place to get training. I know that a big hub is also Austin, and you got to visit B Team. You did a whole podcast with them and everything. So when you were in that B Team room, you guys know that you're eventually going to compete against each other. Did you ever, have someone down and be like, that $1 million is mine?
No, no. I was able to train with Ethan when I was down there and some of the other guys. And man, training is training. We're all after the same thing. We're just trying to get better every day. That was a that was a training environment. So you know everybody was safe. That was a cool thing I liked about B Team. Everybody was pretty safe. We were about we all know that we're semi-professional grapplers and we want to keep our bodies healthy, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't get after it. So it was a good vibe, good intensity. But no competitive animosity other than just hard training.
And I know in the lead up, there's going to be much more focus on the rule set itself. When it comes to quintet and just the team format in general, what kind of experience do you have and what do you like about the quintet CJI hybrid rule set?
So I've done a couple of quintets in combat. Like I think I have two or three on my resume. Uh, the thing about not only the quintet but then the chaos of CJI is you kind of have to throw strategy out the window, man, because with the Royal Rumble setup, you don't know who you're going to face. You could be facing guys extremely bigger than you, in my case, right? So, what do we do in training? How do we handle that? It was like we just get really good at finishing. Like we're looking for guys that can finish submit guys and then be very hard to submit. So, you know, I with the quintet combined with the CJI rule set, I think you have to kind of just throw it all out there. You have to just do what grappling was meant to do, is to submit your opponent.
And you are a guy that is down for any challenge. I'm kind of curious, are we ever going to see you in a PGF style format?
I don't know if the opportunity reaches out for sure. I'm not chained down to any one organization or anything like that. So I may that if that opportunity arises, I'll talk to the people I need to talk to, and then we'll figure it out for sure.
And what is your perception about UFC BJJ? Because as we mentioned earlier in Sabatero, you got the submission against Josh Cisneros, and he's going to be a cast member on the Ultimate Fighter type of show that they're doing. So were you a big MMA fan growing up? Like, what is it like for you seeing all these jiu-jitsu nerds being put on a TV screen for the Ultimate Fighter type of status?
I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome for the sport. A lot of us that train grappling probably were introduced through MMA and the UFC. And, watching the pay-per-views every weekend at your buddy's house was one of the things that we really look forward to. But it just shows that how much the sport has grown, and, Craig has done a lot to do that. We're paying athletes now. We're getting them real exposure, and we're getting exposure to like the masses, not just grappling fans. I think it's with the rise of the UFC and them using that reality show. I think it's great for the sport. I don't know too much about. I know there's a lot of talk about what's going on with the athletes and stuff and where they can go, but I think at the end of the day, it's good for the sport. It's moving the sport forward and it's getting it to a bigger mainstream.
Are there any potential matchups in one championship that you would be interested in, just out of curiosity?
So I know Fabricio's in there. Fabricio Andre is in there. He was my first round match in ADCC. I ended up dropping that match. That might be an opportunity if I had the opportunity to fly out there on that part of the world and compete. That'll be fun. I mean, I don't know. I haven't followed one too much, so I know Fabricio's in there, and I haven't seen anybody. I know some lighter weight guys, but probably a weight that I wouldn't be able to make.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fun grappling action in one championship. And I ask about them in particular just because they're very easy to work with when it comes to CJI. So I was curious, like for you, do you see yourself trying to pick up a few competitions before CJI, or are you just full training camp mode focused for CJI too?
I think I have one competition in the end of this month, but other than that, CJI is my main focus. We're getting paid now. We're getting paid pretty good money, so it's I think once the pay is there and you're starting to treat athletes professional, I think it's on the athlete side to be professional. I can't just do random tournaments and unless it's a good opportunity and the money's right, I'll do it. But for now, I'm just focused on doing this competition in June and riding it all the way to CJI.
And the one in June 28th in Kazakhstan.
Yes, yes, yeah. That's excuse me. That representing Team Alion in AIGA. So a lot of CJI faces on that team. So it'll be sick. It'll be sick for sure.
Yeah, I was there for the qualifiers for Team Alione, and I don't remember seeing you there, but I know that Joseph Chen and Owen Jones aren't on that team anymore. So is it recent news that you're being added to that team?
Yeah, so they reached out to me shortly after that Zapatero win, and I said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." You have my friend PJ Barch on there. We got some of the B team guys on there. Gianni's on there, so it's a solid team. It's a pretty stacked team, and go all the way to Kazakhstan and get to travel. What more can I ask for?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a fun trip, and you're going at the good time because when Alione qualified, it was the winter in Astana, so you're going to get summertime Almaty, which I hear is so beautiful.
Nice.
Very exciting. Well, I'm happy for you. That's going to be a great, great team to be on. And again, another big payout for you. What would Deandre Corbe be doing with his share of $1 million after winning CJI2?
What would I do with my share of the money? I'm pretty frugal. I'm pretty like I said, grew up in a Filipino household, got my engineering degree. I'm not crazy living the lavish lifestyle. I think similar to what we did with what we're trying to do with the money we won earlier this year is just like we're trying to grow it. We're trying to make that transition away from regular 9 to 5s to trying to live our dream. And you need money to do that. And me and my brother are being smart with that money. We're trying to grow it. That's the build something with it and grow it. So big stuff for the Corby brothers in the future, in the near future. Stay tuned. Whoever's listening, stay tuned. It's going to be pretty cool stuff.
Currently being joined by your European trials winner. He went 100% submission rate, all leg locks, and that spot on the CJI European Misfits team felt like it was rightfully his. How emotionally attached were you to the outcome of CJI Euro trials?
Yeah, I really wanted it. I really, really did obviously want to be on the event. It's one of the biggest events in grappling, and it is definitely going to be the biggest event of the year, considering ADCC's next year. So there's nothing really to rival it this year, I think. I think it's just going to be massive. So I really did want my spot on the event.
I remember the last time I saw you, it was at Polaris Squads, and we were brainstorming like how we were going to get you involved. And then the opportunity comes, and you have this guy from Colombia, lives in America. He is invited. What was your immediate reaction when you heard that he was going to be competing in the division that you'd be competing in?
I thought it was strange to have a wild card compete for the spot, because obviously if I'd won, then we wouldn't have a wild card on the team, which I thought was a bit weird. I thought maybe you should use that for an athlete to get a guaranteed spot. Like, other than that, obviously I knew Paul. I knew he's really good. I was watching him years ago when him and his brother used to compete and a lot. And this is back when I did gi. I used to watch them a lot compete. So I knew it'd be a tough one. And I knew it'd probably be me and him in the finals.
And what is your relation like with Coach Ferris?
That's good. Yeah, we're training partners and friends. Yeah, we train together every week.
When I spoke with him, he said that, the reasoning for the overtime is that you have this really slick slide by. So he was thinking that it was going to come out when it mattered most in the wrestling department.
Yeah, that would have been the fairy tale story, wouldn't it? Me standing up with Paul, slide by him. That would have been pretty cool, but it didn't happen, did it? So.
Can you talk about the movement of originally you were going to do 77, which isn't your division, but you were thinking about cutting weight to compete at 77. And then did you hear that Owen O'Flanagan wasn't going to be competing at the trials, and then you decided to do 88? Or what was the process there?
Right. Okay. So the original 88 bracket was going to be me, Santeri, Pavel, and Owen O'Flanagan. Obviously, me and Owen train together every week. We're teammates. We live together, we train together multiple times a week, and we're all really good friends with Santeri also, like really close friends. So we all felt a bit, we didn't want to do it maybe for free, so we were like, look, give it to Owen. Owen can take the spot, and then we're all cool with that. And then Mateus was meant to have the 77 spot. He got injured, so then they were like, right, we're going to do a 77 bracket. So Taylor, do you want to jump in that? And I was like, oh yeah, of course, 100%. And then Owen was meant to do the 88 bracket. I was going to do the 77 bracket. Then obviously Owen pulled out, and they asked me, said, oh, would you like to switch? And I'm like an 88 kilo guy, so I was like, oh, that'd be much better for me, to be honest. I wouldn't like to cut 10 kilos and go to 77, but I would do it to be on the event. If that's what it took, I would have done it. But so when Owen pulled out, I switched, and then they replaced me with Ellis Younger.
And the last time that you competed on the same team as Santeri, he had a great performance at Polaris Squads. Why do you think he wasn't invited to the CJI Euro trials?
No, he was, but he didn't want to. We all said we didn't want to compete against each other for no money. We thought, Owen, if you're going to give it to anyone, Owen O'Flanagan, I think, is the highest ranking in Europe at 88 kilos. It made sense to give it to him, and we were all cool with that. We're like, yeah, that's fair enough. And then if maybe something comes up, and then I think they did invite him to do the 88 trials again, but he had seminars and was like, and then they said he had to pay his own flights to come over. And he was a bit like, right, maybe guaranteed money with the seminar, maybe spend his own money to come over, have a tough bracket.
Or drink some tequila at the CJI
yeah,
trials with everybody.
Maybe. So I think he weighed it up, and for him, it felt better to do the seminar and get the money. But then you got to think ADCC trials is a week after CJI. So I think maybe if you're on CJI, the chances of going and winning European trials is going to be difficult the next weekend after. So maybe he's in his mind thinking, I'm going to concentrate on the ADCC trials. Do you know what I mean? It made more sense. When he found out I was doing the 88 bracket also, we're really good friends. So I think it just made more sense for him not to do it. But he did get invited.
So what was your opinion about Charles Negromonte getting gifted the spot instead of Owen?
Listen, Charles is also a teammate of mine. We all train together. Charles is world class. He's one of the best guys I've trained with easily. He's beaten some of the best guys in the sport. I think maybe as he's not European, I guess he's like an honorary European. He lived in London for a long time, but maybe the spot, I guess, should have been reserved for Owen at first. But I don't know. Charles has done a lot in the sport, so you couldn't really argue too much with him about it. To be honest, we wanted the Los Banditos team. We wanted maybe Owen Jones at 66, me at 77, Owen O'Flanagan at 88, Charles at 99, and then get a wild card for plus 99. This is what we thought would be really cool, but because that's what we tried to get originally, and then we weren't allowed it. But then when Faris became the coach, we thought that maybe this might be quite cool. But man, you know what? Charles deserves it. Charles is he's world class as well, so you can't really argue with that.
Like, that's my biggest takeaway. And also, like, the whole premise of CJI2 is to discover who the best team in the world was. And that's why when the wild card part was included, I was like, okay, that's fun. Like, at first I wasn't a fan of it because I'm like, okay, this kind of takes away from the team aspect, like the true team aspect. But then CJI Euro Trials, I was just sitting, and also there was no live stream. So the next time I see Faris, I'm going to be like, I wanted to watch that live. But it still was really, really fun in the documentary. Tell me about the experience, and then being able to see it played back in the documentary that the Grapple Club put up. It looked really fun.
At first, we were a bit like, how is this going to even work? Because we knew it was going to be at Los Banditos, and obviously we all trained there. We're like, how are you going to get people in it? He said he sold 80 tickets or something like that. We're like, oh, how's this even going to work? It was funny to watch it unfold. It was just pure chaos, to be honest. It was kind of what we expected, especially when I was like, I didn't actually really get to watch the guys like Felipe Gaia, you know, is the Swiss guy, right? But I knew they were going to be flying off the mat. I was thinking that's going to be carnage. I didn't actually get to watch that. But I knew it would be wild. It was quite funny, actually.
Yeah, it was definitely the Fight Club vibes. Can you take me back to your match with Benjamin Bennett? Why did you have a smile on your face during this?
Because we've obviously fought each other 3 times now since we were younger. And I had him in an arm triangle for a lot of it. And we've trained a bunch since after we fought. We trained loads. We're friends anyway, you know, always having a bit of a laugh and banter and that. And I had him in an arm triangle, and he was like, it was tight. And he was, and I was like, oh, this is tight, isn't it? And he went, oh, shut up, man. And then he bridged me and I fell off. And then he just started swan diving at me. It just made me laugh because he was just, and then he had his boys screaming in the corner, like, do it for Bradford. And he was just trying to jump over me. It was just making me laugh. It was really funny.
They're going to have to do a clip of him in the arm triangle first, you saying that, and and then the swan dives? Because I feel like the social media only saw like the aggressive, somewhat spazzy swan dives.
Yeah, that is still funny because it was like, obviously he's not going to pass my guard with this. Do you know what I mean? He was just jumping at me. It was just funny, and they were all going nuts. It was just, and everyone was loving it. It was just, yeah, it's just stupid. It's funny though.
Definitely very entertaining. Obviously, when it comes to the European Misfits team, the list that you had brought up, the Los Banditos list, I think would have been the perfect European team for, you know, people to really get behind and root for. I feel like now with Paul on the team, I don't know, it kind of takes away from the European aspect. What is your take on the potential of trades happening in the lead up? Because once once you weigh in at CJI2, there's no changing of the teams. But we do have a few months before then. What is your opinion on potential trades that could happen before weigh-ins happen on CJI2?
Yeah, I've heard this can happen, like the transfer window, some little trades happening. Yeah, it could definitely shake things up a little bit. Like you say, I think the team would have been best if we're all like Los Banditos before, because then, like you say, we could have got behind the team, all the content would be there, and I feel like it would have grabbed the attention of the fans, and they would have got behind it, because we all are actually a team. Do you know what I mean? We actually all train together, and there's not many people. Like obviously there's these super teams that all train together, but like we are just a small club in London, and we all train together, and we all do really well, So I feel like that, and it would have been like a real underdog story. I think people would have got behind that a lot, if we managed to get the team we wanted. But I'm looking forward to represent the team I'm on. I think it's a good team, and I'm looking forward to trying maybe taking out the European team.
Very interesting. Yeah. So things haven't been officially announced. I'm not sure when exactly this will be released, but since the situation kind of went down the way it did, what happened after the fact in conversations with Craig and potentially getting you involved with CJI2?
Yeah. So after the final happened, I think it was just like, it was a bit weird, obviously, how it all happened, and no one was really happy. Like no one was happy with that. Like no one there was happy. Like so many people come up to me, going, "What the sorry, I won't swear," but there were like so many people were like disrupted about it. I know Tommy Langaker was there. He was even kicking off about it. I don't really know him that well, and he was just like, "You can't do this. You can't do that." And then Craig came up to me and spoke to me, and he said, "Look, I don't think that was fair. How that was done. We're going to try our best to get you out to America for CGI." And in my mind, I just assumed maybe I'd get a super fight on the I don't know if they were going to do prelims before the event started. I just thought maybe he's going to get me a super fight or something like that. That's what I assumed. And I gave him a text on WhatsApp and just said, "Oh mate, would it be possible to maybe get a super fight? Is that something you could consider?" And then he said, "Look, I'm going to try and get you on the team if you're up for it." Then I come out of the gym the next day, and he just gave me a call and just said, "Look, do you want to be on the team?" And yeah, I said, "Yeah, obviously."
But what team are you on?
Okay, the American Misfits team. I'm an honorary American now.
Very interesting.
It's funny. Me and Paul have switched.
What makes you excited to be part of the America's Misfits team and being coached under Greg Souders?
Listen, Greg's controversial. Obviously, he's been arguing with a good friend of mine quite a lot online recently, Owen and Flanagan. Obviously, they've been bickering about the ecological and stuff. But Greg had a podcast with them the other day, and I think it's all swept under the rug now, so it's fine. But he's a controversial coach of how he approaches things. But I think I've heard he's an amazing coach. PJ Barch told me, he said he was unbelievable as a coach. He said, honestly, like he said, you have to try it. So I'm always up for trying new things. He seems to be very dedicated to coaching. He reads a lot, studies a lot of how to coach properly. I think a lot of jiu-jitsu coaches, myself included, we just kind of teach how we're brought up teaching, brought up being taught. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing any external research to help my coaching at this time. I'm focusing on being an athlete, and I just kind of relay information to my students, maybe not in the best way. And he seems to be dialing in what is the best way to get the information across and make people learn. So I'm excited to see if it is how he says it is, and then maybe I can implement that for my gym. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to be coached by him.
Do you think there is a specific coach on the CJI2 roster that is a weak link?
Well, a weak link, if you're going to look at one, it has to be Faris in terms of coaching, because the rest are actually coaches. Do you know what I mean? Faris is an athlete. Faris definitely can play some like edits or something and get the athletes hyped, I reckon, before the match. Before the match starts, get them hyped up.
That'll be his main point to winning. Just get them hyped.
Just get some sick TikTok edits and just like, just listen to this, boys, and just get them hyped. But listen, Faris is a world-class athlete. Again, he's a world champion. So even though he hasn't got experience coaching, like all the people on his team are high-level athletes. He can just be like, he can just train with them and just get them ready for war. I don't think it'll be I don't think the coaching will have that much of an impact, to be honest. I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, maybe a little bit, but if Owen Jones goes out against someone, regardless if he has Faris in his corner or John Danaher in his corner, he'd probably still win or lose, regardless of what's going to happen. So I don't think that would make a difference.
Yeah, it'll definitely still come down to the jiu-jitsu, but I think the strategy for the order that they pick could really change some things. So
yeah, but I think it'll be kind of like a team effort as well. Like on Polaris, it was kind of like the team thing where everyone kind of discussed what they think was best. You know what I mean? And you kind of maybe vote on it. I know the coach has the final say, but I kind of feel like it will be like that, especially because Faris is an athlete as well. I think they will just kind of brainstorm with the other athletes and they'll do what's right, If
the American Misfit Squad goes home with that $1 million, how is Taylor Pearman using his share of that money?
I'm going to take at least 20 grand to a casino, I reckon. You got to go all on. Imagine that. Imagine how good you'd feel. You put 20 grand down on like, I don't know, black 17 or something on roulette and you just win. Imagine that. Best feeling
That'll
ever.
be a great feeling. And then if you lose it, you're like, oh, it's all right. I still have like a plenty
I still have
more.
180. I'm fine. I'm all right. But I'd probably go and gamble a nice chunk of it. Try and make more,
Very exciting. August 30th, 31st. Thank you so much for the time, Taylor.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.